comes into existence as something. Be still. Know. In the stillness that is being, there is a deep knowing, non-conceptual, a deep intelligence. Not words, not thoughts, deeper than thought, because it's the primordial seed of all intelligence. Be still. Know, I am. It is the innermost sense of beingness, or I am. God, the divine, the source, the one. And you put these words together, each word signifies also the other. They're all one. Be still, know, I am God. Miraculous. So those are advanced prayers and powerful. They put you in touch. Be still and know that I am God is one of the most powerful and beautiful pointers to the truth, and one of those rare ones that uses language without taking you into duality. Please talk more about the pain body and how to transcend it. We already spoke a little bit, but there are so many questions about the pain body that we may, in tomorrow's session, talk a little bit more about it, unless something else arises in that now. Last one, perhaps, because they're cutting off the satellite dish. As someone who has done a lot of yoga and body work for many years, I always felt there was some correlation between spirituality and good posture. Then I saw you. What a shock. My first thought was, how can somebody with your posture be so blooming spiritually, and wouldn't you be even more spiritual if you did some corrective body work? My second thought was that I'm a blooming idiot. And can you tell us how you experience the body and if it ever feels like an impediment to you? That reminds me of I talked to Gangaji, the spiritual teacher, a couple of years ago, and she was telling me she was doing some kind of body work years ago, and I can't remember what kind. But at that time she heard of Ramana Maharshi and became interested in the teachings and read a book. And then she saw a photo of him And she saw that and said, a man who has such bad posture can possibly have nothing to teach me. He will certainly have nothing to teach me if he walks like that. And it took her several years to transcend that belief. And then she saw that it didn't matter anymore. Sometimes, if the body has gone through a lot of suffering, either physical suffering or psychological suffering, it leaves traces in the body, in the very bones of the body. It leaves traces. In some cases it's in the face. I knew one spiritual teacher, I won't say who said, "Look at my face. I always look unhappy. Even when I'm happy, I look unhappy, and that is because I've been unhappy. I was unhappy for so many years." He only looked unhappy if you saw the external features of his face. If you looked more deeply, you could see he wasn't unhappy. But you could see the lines in his face that showed that were the traces left behind by unhappiness. But something else was now shining through it, through that, the form that had been affected by the suffering. And that's the same here. People are surprised when I tell them it's very rare that I ever feel any pain in the body. Only 2 years ago I was at Omega, I had a back pain. I don't know what that was to do with. Maybe the events in New York. I don't know, but usually there's no pain, the body feels fine. And it doesn't seem to be a problem at all. And something else shines through it. So the body has fulfilled its function of being an opening for that. Now, I'm not saying that in many other cases, body work is a wonderful thing to free emotions that may be stuck there. Even the pain body, it's beautiful. It's not, ultimately, it could happen to anyone at any moment. It could happen to somebody who is totally crippled. And that has happened too. There was a famous enlightened poet, a teacher who hundreds of years ago wrote the Indian scripture called the Ashtavakra Gita, and he is said to have been a cripple, and it didn't matter anymore. That was his suffering, traces left behind by the suffering, and then the body simply became something through which presence shines. I'll put these back in the basket. I'm sorry, your question hasn't come up yet. There are many. Thank you. Thank you. Stay a little while, both here and if you're still there, Austin, Hollyhock. Stay a little while with the empty chair or the empty screen. Thank you.
This concludes Lesson 5. Lesson 6. Questions and Answers. The Power of Detachment and Surrender.
We've had the alarm clock for the first awakening, and now comes the real awakening. For some people at Hollyhock, good morning, that may also be the alarm clock because it's 7 o'clock in the morning there. Austin, I don't know, it's 8 or 9 o'clock there. You may be half awake. Here everybody is fully awake in one sense, and perhaps also in another sense of the word. As you may have noticed, laughter was an important and is an important part of our gathering. It's very liberating, particularly to laugh at the human condition and to laugh at one's own mind patterns, because it implies that you've taken one step back, a retreat, and have seen your own patterns or your own drama that's produced by the mind patterns. And when you recognize drama as drama, it becomes also funny. Awakening, so, is not a serious business. If you make it serious, then you've gone astray somewhere and the mind is trying to do something. Awakening, a synonym for that, of course, is enlightenment. Another beautiful word, which in the English language, as it so happens, implies two things. There's light in there, enlightenment. It implies light, the light of consciousness, the clarity, the awakened consciousness, the clear seeing, and it implies lightness in the sense of lack of heaviness, gravity, weight, which includes seriousness. Because the mind-made me, the egoic self, takes itself very seriously. It also takes itself very seriously in its attempt to become enlightened. So humor, right humor, not egoic humor. Egoic humor also exists. It might be to laugh at somebody else and think, oh, I'm much, by comparison, I am much more intelligent than this silly person. Laughter frees you up inside. And I hadn't realized until I read some of the questions to you yesterday that every question also seemed to have a funny side. I didn't realize it until everybody started laughing. I'm not waiting for the next sentence to come, and I hope you are not either. If we were waiting, I would be under stress and you would be impatient. And perhaps you now realize how enjoyable it is when I'm not speaking. We will look at a few more questions, including some questions on the pain body. This is by someone who is sleepless at night. My wife snores. My now at night is miserable. I have tried electronic gadgets and earplugs to no avail. How does one respond and not react? Signed, awake but only at night. P.S. I have tried your cold soup analogy. Sweetheart, would you please stop snoring? It doesn't work. No, of course the cold soup method is not going to work here because snoring is an involuntary process. It just happens. I hope at home you have separate bedrooms. But here, well, any situation that you cannot change, and there are situations of that kind, or situations that you cannot change at this time, perhaps change will be possible at some point, but right now, at this moment, there's nothing one can do. Whether you're in prison or metaphorically speaking in prison or have some other condition, some life situation. Now if there's truly nothing you can do, or there may be something you can do, but there are certain important reasons why perhaps you cannot take action right now. If that is truly so, if you cannot change the situation, there are only two options left. You remove yourself or you surrender. Oh yes, I forgot the third one. You suffer. And that's always the case, then it's your choice which of the three you choose. Surrender in this case is surrender to the fact that you get woken up several times during the night and then perhaps feel sleepy during the day. But just surrender to, yes, there you are, awake again. And then you might use this opportunity and just go into the body. What else can you do? Or shake her, but then it starts again. Or you rent a tent and move into a tent. The thing that doesn't work and that which generates suffering is complaining mentally about the situation, about a situation that you can do nothing about right now. Complaining mentally or complaining also to others, anybody who is prepared to listen to you. You can complain about the situation. And if you observe closely, you see that something in you likes that. Something in you feels strengthened by the complaining, and that's the false sense of self. Whenever you complain, it strengthens the false me, because you are right. The complainer is always right. When is tolerance enabling and or masochism? You may remember we talked about yes to what is not always a yes on the verbal external level. It's an inner attitude, an inner state that you bring to the situation. And out of that inner state of openness and alert attention, which goes with the yes to what is, alert attention, which is intelligence, out of that the right response comes for that situation. And the right response for that situation is not necessarily the word yes, or yes, go ahead, yes,